Patience, it'll just be a few more minutes. Welcome to today's press conference. We'll begin with head coach David Shaw. Coach Shaw, if you could begin with an opening statement.
Thank you. And start with our injuries. Caleb Robinson will be out. Miles Hinton is questionable. We'll see where he is in the next day or so. Ethan Bonner, questionable, leaning towards doubtful. Might need one more week. We're going to try to run him around this week. See if he can go, but that's maybe a little less than 50-50. A lot of injuries, but that's the sport. College, pro, you see it happening all over the place. Thankfully, I think we've got enough depth at the running back position, barely enough depth, but everywhere else, so they've got depth. And we've got guys that have had to step up, a lot of freshmen. David Bailey had a great game this past game. Has been pretty steady for us, and Fisher Anderson's had to come into play. Ashton Daniels came in, did a great job for us. Moody Rubin's been playing, Sam Roush, CJ Hawkins, Jackson Moy. So a lot of guys with all the injuries have been thrust into positions, and these guys have come in and played really well for us. Nick Toomer has come in the last couple games and been very good for us as well. So a lot of young guys taking advantage of the opportunities. No time to dwell. If somebody goes down, the next guy's got to step up. Credit to the coaches for preparing the guys to go, and for the guys to go out there and go out there and play. So, time to retool, see who's healthy, get back at it, and get ready to have a home game. I'm excited to be back home. I'm excited to play in the daytime, for the second time this year. This week will be our set the expectation game, where we talk about how to have positive, healthy relationships. I'm excited to see Brenda Tracy come back this week. It's a real positive thing, I think, that we do for our campus, but also that Brenda and her team is doing for our great nation. On the football side, I mentioned this earlier, and I'm just using this platform again. Again, our quarterback was hit below the knee 3 times during the course of the game, and in the NFL, those are penalties and potential fines. And been in communication with Steve Shaw, head of officials nationally, David Coleman, head of the Pac-12. Sent a note to Merton today at the Pac-12 office. Not that these are dirty hits or dirty players. That's not it at all. It's about protecting our student athletes. And if the quarterback's is in a throwing posture, he's not in a position to protect himself. And our goal has always been to protect defensive players, in particular their heads, but then also their knees. So there's a rule that's written to protect the passer's knees. I just think that it's open to too much interpretation. And I think we need to change the verbiage because the 3 hits our quarterback's taken. I think we might have had one close on their quarterback as well. It's happened a couple times during the course of the year. Our games and other games, I've just watched it, and I brought this up before. This is something I believe that needs to be changed. I think we should go to the strike zone for where you can hit a defensive player, whether that's a quarterback, receiver, whoever it is. I think we're doing a great job of protecting the heads, but I think we need to protect the lower body extremities as well. So that's a big thing for me, and a lot of discussions with the crew that did our game. I thought they did a good job. There just always going to be those discussions also on, the pass interference and, contact down the field. I thought we had a couple opportunities where the ball's up in the air and there's a defender making it difficult to reach a ball. It happened 3 times in our game. And so like those discussions are ongoing. Like I said, by and large, thought the game was officiated fairly and well. There are always questions, clarifications that we all need to get. But for me, most importantly, going low on a quarterback, whether he's in the pocket or out of the pocket, while he's in the process of throwing the football, should just be a foul. I don't know if there are many people that would truly question that. It's just that the way the rule is worded in our book, I believe needs to change and needs to change soon. So I'll take questions.
Please use the raise hand function on Zoom, and we will take questions in the order that they are received. Troy?
Yeah, Coach, with the running back room in the shape that it's in a quantity standpoint, how does that change from an offensive perspective, what you guys are able to do and what you're able to emphasize when you're going into it from a game planning standpoint?
That is a great question, and I'll get back to you at some point in time when I have a great answer. There's going to be a little trial and error this week. Typically you lean towards what the offensive line does well. So there's going to be some balance between catering to our big guys and catering to our runners. So there's some ability back there. It's just not a lot of experience. So we got to make sure that we are giving our guys the best opportunity to be successful.
Steve?
Yeah, Coach. Is the injury long-term, or is this just 1 week for Caleb Robinson, or do you know?
Hopefully 1 week. Hopefully a week, but we'll see.
And I'll profess to ignorance. I see Mitch Layer is the backup listed right now. I don't know much about Mitch Layer. What should we know about Mitch Layer?
We're excited to get him as a recruit. He's a very good athlete, very physical, tough kid. In high school, he played running back. He played kind of an H-back. He played safety. He played kind of like a linebacker. He's got great hands, catches the ball well. Did a great job running the ball in high school. On the defensive side, he was physical, great tackler, great speed to contact guy. We started recruiting him as an athlete, just leaning towards the defensive side. But with the I think the coach used the shape that our running back room is in. He was able to flip over last week and learned a lot last week. Got in a couple of plays, and now we think he's in a position now to where he can help us. Another week of practice, the other week of feeling him out. He's got a good idea of pass protection. He's got a good idea of inside zone, outside zone, gap scheme, all the things that we're doing. So it'll just be an opportunity to get him a lot of reps this week and get him ready to play. And hopefully Brendan Barrow is 100%, and Shield has done a great job for us, both as a single back and as a fullback. So we'll have multiple guys ready to play.
John?
Yeah, Coach, not to beat this into the ground, but tell me how sort of that works. Did you approach Mitch, or were there others on a list that you had? Obviously, you got a lot of guys that played two-way in high school, and if I did my research, there's some that played running back. Obviously, you're looking for someone who obviously wants to take that step forward. How did sort of the mechanics of getting to Mitch or other candidates come about?
Well, a couple different ways. One is we've talked about Mitch before when we've had running back injuries, just because he was so athletic and so physical as an offensive player. I reached out to Mitch, didn't make it a mandate. I think a lot of things with the way that we do things here is a conversation. Thought about it for a little bit. He got back to me and said, "Hey, Coach, I'd love to do it," which is awesome. That conversation, partially because of his ability, but also safety is one of the positions that we're pretty deep. And so I wouldn't want to take from a place where we, where we would cause another problem by taking a player, because there's a bunch of guys on the team that would make the switch, that played running back in high school, but would make their positions very thin. And I have to say this is a short-term solution. Mitch has done a great job at safety. He had a great spring. And I think he's going to be at some point a starting safety for us. I'm excited to see that. But this was an opportunity to have him come over and help on the offensive side. Trust me, there are a lot of guys on our team that, are still kind of peeking back there saying, "Hey, Coach, let me know if you need me." But right now, I think we have enough guys in the room, and getting them some reps, getting ready to play.
Dave?
Yeah, Coach, when you have an experienced running back, is the worry more of protection, or is it maybe having limited amount of plays that you could call, or maybe it's both? But I mean, I'm wondering how big of the protection part, the pass pro part, is to an inexperienced running back.
It's very important, which is why we wanted to bring somebody back there who'd done it before. Hard to teach it in the middle of the season to someone who's never done it. Coach Gould has done a great job. He's one of the best all-around running back coaches that you're going to find. So he teaches in such a way to make it simple for our guys. So that has not been an issue. So Shield Taylor, easy for him. Mitch, kind of just stepped right in, kind of gets it now the way we communicate it, where their eyes need to be. And then also a guy that's played on special teams. I mean, Mitch is a big physical guy. So we don't have any issues with him stepping up in pass protection.
Troy?
Here it is, November, and historically over the last dozen years, this program has by and large done well in this month of November. What have been the common themes when Stanford has played better during this month, and what are those things? What sort of things you need to see Stanford do in this month of November?
Well, a lot of the reasons is how we train. Our guys train extremely well in the off season to be able to be in November and in December and still be explosive and still be physical and still be in great shape. I think the way we practice, the way we taper our practices towards the middle of the season and then towards the end of the year to make sure that we can go full speed. Health wise has been a big reason for our success. When we don't have the health, it's difficult. Right now, we don't have the health at the running back position, but across the board, most positions we are healthy. So being healthy and being trained for this time of year are two vital things, and that's what's helped us be successful in the past.
Ben?
Yeah, just thoughts on Washington State. They're coming in on a bit of a skid on their end. What are the keys going to be to make sure you guys are able to get back in the win column on Saturday against the Cougs?
Yeah, when they're on defense, they're active. They've got active guys. They move. They're tough to block sometimes in space. They've caused some turnovers. They've wreaked some havoc here and there. They're tough on third down. They got a great third down package. And they're on offense. Starts with the quarterback. He can hurt you. He can run. He can move. He's got a strong arm. They spread you out sideline to sideline. He can pick some matchups. So for us, up until this past Saturday, I thought we've been playing really well against the run. These guys don't run the ball as much, but they can run it efficiently. But we're going to have to really manage the quarterback and the receivers and play in this game in space with these guys. And the quarterback gets really, really streaky. He can make every throw in the book. He can make some tough ones, and you got to put him in difficult positions. So for us, we got to be efficient. Like I said last week, we can't just be a drop back operation. We have to be able to run the ball, have to be able to be balanced. At the same time, utilizing one of our strengths, which is our passing game and our quarterback, our receivers and tight ends. So that'll help us keep their offense off the field. And when their offense is on the field, we gotta handle the quarterback. Like I said, he can get really streaky. He can get hot on you. You have to be able to be in his face. You got to make him move, and hopefully, secondary wise, we can match up and stay with their receivers.
John?
David, you told us after the game, I think the words you used were, protection issues, and you used the word connection issues, vis-a-vis the receivers. Obviously, some of the connection issues have to do with protection. If Tanner doesn't have the platform, or like you say, people are going at him. But was there anything independent of the protection of the protection issues? Was there anything about the connection between Tanner and receivers that was disappointing to you, or a little bit off, or was there more to that connection comment that you made?
Going back and watching the film, a lot of it had to do with the combination of protection and our timing. The protection affects timing. The quarterback being able to stay in the quiet spot of the pocket and deliver the football. I thought we played okay in the receiver position. I thought a couple of times we didn't quite get the releases that we were looking for. But like I said earlier too, there's three plays on film that are big plays. Could have been big plays for us where there's a lot of contact, and we were called for pass interference earlier on our defense, and I was kind of looking for the same thing on the other side. Those didn't come, and those were all judgment calls. So the combination of protection, combination of the quarterbacks and receivers being on the right time, and part of it is playing through some contact. If we don't get the call, we still got to make the play.
Steve?
Yeah, kind of following up John's question and from your opening statement, were those hits on Tanner, was he okay through the rest of the game, or did he have some injury issues because of those hits?
No, he's fine. No injury issues. And thankfully, he was able to get his feet off the ground on all three of those hits. The words forcible contact are still judgment calls. And when a guy dives at your knees and you get your feet off the ground, so it's not a violent hit, to me, it's still a foul. But thankfully, he's able to get his feet off the ground as guys are hitting him at his knees.
Great, thank you.
Back to John.
Just Coach, I sort of marvel at the quarterbacks I've seen in this league. Obviously, you have one in Tanner McKee, but I mean, you have the benefit of many years of looking at quarterbacks in this conference. What's it been like preparing for these quarterbacks, and sort of what I guess I'm going to a sort of evolution of the position. I mean, it seems remarkable, some of the QB talent we've seen this year, and just your thoughts about that and how sort of deep it goes in among the conference teams.
Well, I know 11 coaches who will celebrate the day that DTR is no longer in this conference. But he's a dynamic athlete that has grown so much and capable of doing so many things. And he gets so much credit for his athleticism. This guy stood in the pocket a couple times as we were bearing down on him, and he made some big time throws on top of what he did with his legs. So I have the utmost respect for him and his game and his approach to the game, the growth that he's made. But yeah, the quarterbacks in our conference right now, I don't think it's close. I mean, it's the best group of quarterbacks in any conference in America. And on a week-to-week basis, you have to be prepared to handle their best stuff.
Troy?
Yeah, how would you sum up and assess Tanner McKee's season to this point?
You know, a lot of mitigating factors. He played a month without a starting offensive line intact. I think, as we've talked about earlier, when he's been clean, I mean, he's as good as any. He's as good as the best guys in college football. You know, when we're not able to protect him, when we're not able to offset things with the running game, you know, it becomes difficult. And he's not the scrambler that DTR is. But he's been able to get some positive yards with his legs. And that's one of the things that kind of gets overshadowed in a game like this. He avoided 3 sacks, got out of trouble, got positive yards, got back to line of scrimmage. A couple of them he got more than 4 yards. So, you know, I think the season's been uneven, not necessarily because of his play, but at the same time, I think there's probably, you know, in the games we've played, I don't know, a handful of plays that he'd love to have back. Missed opportunities, as we talked earlier about, you know, connecting with the guys, whether the ball's thrown a little bit too far, a little bit too outside, receiver maybe not getting the right position against the DB. So those are the things I know that he would love to have back, we'd love to have back. But all in all, I think it's been good. It has not been, we have not seen the best of Tanner McKee. Much like I would say you have not seen the best of our offense. And losing your top 2 running backs, I think, also truly affects the quarterback position as well.
Ben?
Just talk about the growth of David Bailey, what you've seen over the course of the year. It seems like each week he's getting better. And then also, too, just how excited are you to see what both he and RJ Cooper become in the second half of the season and just the coming years?
Yeah, you know, this freshman class, you know, was top 15 by a lot of people, and when it's all said and done, probably will get rated higher than that. You know, they go back and re-rank the classes, but I think what David has proven to be just as a freshman, and I think he's going to make leaps and bounds next year. Ernest R.J. Cooper has really shown it, and you haven't really seen Teva. Teva has been outstanding in practice. We think these guys are difference makers, all of them. Jackson Moyes playing as a true freshman. Excited to see him continue to grow. Pat Coy is out for an injury, but I think all of those guys, gosh, I mean, I want to name the whole class, but in particular, you look at the front 7 of that group that we have, and then over the next couple seasons, you'll see the guys we have in the secondary as well. It's going to be a really, really fun group. David kind of got off to a fast start, came in early, was here for spring football and all summer, so he made a huge jump. But I think the rest of our freshmen are going to catch up as well, and it's going to be a fun group to watch continue to grow and improve.
John?
Coach, your opening statement got me thinking a little bit about the differences between NFL rules and college football rules. And Coach, you laid out well the issue about the knees, and we all know about the NFL rule. Are there any other rules? I guess my question is more, do you want to see more of a confluence of the rules, NFL and college? Do you think it's good to have some of them separate, like spot foul for PI? What's sort of your philosophy about the differences in the 2 rules, and is there a coming together more that you'd like to see, or is it better for the college game to be separate?
I think they should be separate. I think there are some things I think that can be universal, and for me, the safety ones are the ones that should have the most confluence. You know, and that's where we had a lot of discussions every year. You know, I'm kind of siphoning off as being the on the rules committee, the NCAA rules committee. But every year we meet with the NFL and we talk about rules changes, and we talk about safety, and we talk about the kickoff and kickoff return. And we talk about helmet contact. We talk about targeting. We talk about all these things. And a lot of them are aligned. And the one that I brought up is one that is very, very different. I mean, even our cut blocking rules are very, very similar now. But this is one that is a huge disparity. You come anywhere near an NFL quarterback's knees with any speed, that you're going to get a foul. And if it's serious contact, then you're going to get a fine. And that's one that just doesn't exist in college football right now. We have a similar rule, but I think we give ourselves an out with the words forcible contact, in other words, that you can have unforceable contact, which non-forcible contact, which I think is difficult. Like I said, 3 times our quarterback thankfully got his feet off the ground, but those are legitimate hits. So the safety ones are the ones that you'd love to have the most confluence. The biggest difference is the 5-yard contact rule, which I don't think we need in college football. I think it makes it too difficult to play defense. So let the NFL guys deal with that, with those high caliber athletes. And the spot foul, pass interference, those have been discussions we've had in college football as well. And we've decided to stay with our 15-yard penalty. So I don't think there needs to be a 1-to-1 correlation. I think they all need to be similar. But for me, I would push for all the safety rules to be the same.
Any other questions for Coach Shaw? Ben?
Yeah, opposite side of the ball, just Moody Rubin, his progression, talk about what you've seen from him. He had a pretty amazing, not sure what you call it, kind of stiff arm to the ground there to stay up and got extra yardage. Just talk about his growth as well and how excited you are to see what he brings to the receiving core in the coming years.
Yeah, Moody started early. He also came like David Bailey, came in the spring. He just seems to make one freaky play a day, minimum. Difficult catch, jumping up over somebody. He can run really fast. He gets down the field. And then you see, I heard the comments on the sidelines, he's like Plastic Man. He just bends and twists and finds a way to get through difficult situations on his feet. I'll never forget, there's a play in training camp where he was going for a deep ball. He couldn't quite get there, and there's somebody around his feet, and he kind of just dove in the air and did a somersault and landed back on his feet. So he's a heck of an athlete. He's still a young player that still has a lot to learn. But we believe in short order, he'll be an impact player in college football.
Ashley?
Thanks, Coach. Just real quick, you mentioned Brenda Tracy, and I'd just love to, I think it's awesome that this is 5 years running now that you guys have done this at the Expectation Game. Curious if you could just describe what you've seen the impact on your players. I don't know if there's an anecdote or just overall what having her around the program and sharing her story has meant.
Yeah, I think that's the right word, is impact. The first time she came, you could hear a pin drop when she talked to our team. The emotions that her story brings, and she does a great job of giving a direction for those emotions. So she made an impact on us, and a lot of our student athletes decided to make impact a bunch of different ways, both on campus and off campus, in season, out of season. A lot of our guys follow her on social media and tweet and retweet just to continue to get her messages out there about positive relationships and ending relationship violence, in particular on college campuses. And our guys recognizing that they are, the most recognizable male figures on campus, not just the football players, but athletes and people that are out in the community. And the more positive things that we can do can continue to help. But at the same time, I've seen the same impact on our campus. Every time Brenda comes, it's not just the athletes. You see the students wearing T-shirts. You see students coming up to talk to her and share their stories and appreciate her stories and tell them about the impact that they've made, and seeing that impact now come across our campus. So it's not just the football players. It's not just the male and female athletes that are excited to see her come. There are a lot of students on our campus that are non-athletes. There are a lot of people in our community that are excited to see her come back to campus as well. So it's been overall a positive thing that we'll continue to do.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley, for asking that question. Thanks, everyone.
All right, we are here with Tanner McKee. We'll take questions. Troy?
All right, Tanner, here we go. November, 8 games in, 4 games to go. Overall, grand scheme of things, when you look at your season, how would you assess it and sum it up?
Like me personally as a player or
Yeah.
just the team? Okay. I mean, me personally, I feel like we've had a ton of things to learn from. I mean, just being a leader, handling adversity. I feel like we definitely have had a lot this season. So just being able to bounce back, being able to get the guys be able to get to know the guys a little bit better, knowing who needs, all right, let's calm down a little bit, let's flush it, and who needs kind of like a kick in the butt, like, dude, you got to get going, let's go. So just learning the guys, learning different techniques of being a leader has been great. Obviously, the more football, the more coverages you see, more experience, the more comfortable I feel in the offense, knowing what coach is going to call, what we're calling for different coverages and things like that. So overall, just great experience for me.
Ben?
Hey, Tanner, just talk about kind of navigating the running back situation. Caleb's out this week. You guys are getting thinner and thinner at that position. Just talk about from how that's affected you as a quarterback and any adjustments you've had to make as a result of that.
Yeah, I think I mean, we're going to have the next guy up mentality. But I feel like that puts a little bit more on my shoulders, on the receivers, on the O-line. Obviously, we have guys out there that haven't had maybe as many reps. And so we're just going to have to take on the responsibility, take on the challenge. And I think we're definitely up for it. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely missing some of our guys, but that's definitely not something to dwell on. We got to keep moving. Like we said, next guy up.
Dave?
Yeah, Tanner, just just in your role, especially, how important is it for you to stay positive and to be an encouraging teammate, even when every week there seems to be another, injury situation or something like that probably is kind of a blow, maybe to the morale of the team, possibly. I'm just wondering what you feel like is your role in that regard of just kind of staying positive and being a good teammate.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Being, a leader of the team and being the quarterback, trying to be consistent, trying to be that guy that guys can look at and be like, okay, we're good. Tanner's level-headed, so we can be level-headed or things like that. Just kind of getting the feel for the room with, the O-line not having a running back, or just different ways that we can respond that way. But yeah, just trying to be level-headed for the guys, like you said, being positive, being confident, knowing that, just because football is a physical game, we expect guys that are going to go down. And like we said before, we're going to have to have guys that are going to step up. But yeah, just being level-headed and confident in the next guys. I mean, all those younger guys and guys that are now getting more reps have been doing all the training, all the preparation and training just as hard. But now they have their time to shine. So we're super excited for them.
Troy?
What stands out to you about Washington State and their defense?
I think me personally, they definitely run a lot of interesting, weird coverages. Just like showing a lot of guys up. Sometimes they'll blitz them all. Sometimes they'll only bring 3 and then drop everybody back out. So big thing for us as an offensive or just as an offense is being able to recognize who's who, diagnose what's going to come. And then have answers when they do run cover 0 or they bring a ton of pressure that we're not going to be able to hold up for a long time. So just having our guys strain and then making them pay for being super aggressive and maybe overextending themselves a little bit. We're going to have to make those big plays, going to have to make them pay for being too aggressive and not having safety help over the top or things like that. One missed tackle could mean a really big play and a touchdown. So we're just going to have to make those plays this week.
Ben?
I asked Coach Shaw about this. I'm going to ask you as well because you're the quarterback here. Just thoughts on Moody Rubin and his development and progression, what you've seen from him from the spring until now. Just how much growth have you seen from him, and just talk about what he's brought to the team and his future.
Yeah, I mean, Moody is a stud on and off the field. I feel like when he first got here, we all knew that he had a ton of potential just for how athletic he was, how long he was. I mean, you can see him run and just his stride is is crazy. He's a super athletic kid. So he's made some great plays. I feel like when we got here, we're like, oh my gosh, this kid's just like so athletic and super raw at receiver. Can't wait to see him like develop and, get better at his routes and get better at this and things like that. So now that he's refining those things, his route running's a lot better. He's understanding football as a whole a lot better, and being able to get open and still make those crazy athletic plays that one that we saw last week on Saturday. So super excited for him. Feel like he has a really high ceiling and he's just going to keep getting better and better.
Troy.
Overall, so far this season, is there one throw that you look back and go, wow, that's the best throw I've made so far this year? And on the flip side, is there one throw that you'd really like to have back?
Not really, honestly. As a quarterback, try not to dwell on the past. You take the good, you take the bad. There's definitely a lot of things that I've learned from. Completions, incompletions, no matter how the result is, I think you have to assess every single throw, every single decision, no matter what happens. So a ton of film study. Obviously we've made a lot of good plays, and we've had plays that we wish we could have had back. But I don't know if there's any one or two plays that stand out in particular for me.
Dave.
Yeah, Tanner, I was just curious about what kind of skills do you feel like you've picked up on, rather than it could have been just out of necessity or just on kind of some of the things that you guys have changed this year. But how do you feel like, in what ways are you a better quarterback for having new, types of experiences or roles, with this, the way things have gone this year?
Yeah, I think just being able to adapt is huge. As a quarterback, as a football player, there's going to be a lot of things that you plan for, you train for, and then things are gonna change. So just being able to, address the team after a loss, or being able to give guys constructive criticism, or being a better leader, just in different ways. I feel like it's really helped me a lot grow as a person, as a leader, as a quarterback, that I really think will benefit me in the future and in my career in the future as well.
Ben.
You guys have been a pretty resilient bunch this year. Got off to a really rocky start this year. Bounced back to win 2 games in a row. Another difficult loss on Saturday. But just talk about what's been the key to maintaining a positive attitude as a team, and what's allowed you guys to stick together as a cohesive unit through some tough times. Just what's been the key to that, do you think?
I would say expecting adversity. We know football is a really tough game. It's a physical game. Like we said before, people getting hurt, tough losses, tough breaks. We play really good teams. We're going to make plays. They're going to make plays, being able to bounce back from that. But honestly, the main thing that I'm thinking of, we probably had one of our best off seasons as far as guys, working as hard as they can and just embracing the grind. So, when things are tough, feel like we've been in that position before, having to step up, having to go an extra few reps, or knowing that, if somebody next to you isn't doing a good enough job, letting them know and being able to pick up that slack. I feel like we've had a really good offseason. So been able to respond a few times. Feel like we still have to be more consistent in the way that we handle adversity and the way we bounce back. But I feel like we've shown that we're able to do it. We just need to be able to do it more often.
Any other questions for Tanner? Thank you so much, Tanner.
Thank you.
All right, we are wrapping up with Patrick Fields. We will take any questions. Troy.
Well, Patrick, let's start with the big news for you this week. Semifinalist for the Werfel Trophy. It's a trophy you've been up for before. What does that mean to you?
I don't know. It's kind of difficult because I don't think I try to look for recognition for, some of my actions or what I'm doing. But I think it's just neat to be honored for such a prestigious award. And then I happen to have a really good relationship with Isaiah. He actually helped me in my application process whenever I was applying here and what grad transferring looked like, specifically at Stanford. So I have like a lot of respect for the award, especially through Isaiah. And then I have a lot of, respect for just all the guys who came before me. There was a guy I was at, one of my coaches at Oklahoma. He won the Wolfo as well. So I was very familiar with the award and kind of what it represents and embodies.
Dave?
Yeah, Patrick, I know the season's been difficult on the field. I'm just wondering how you see your role is and has been, this year. Like, is it different than maybe what you might have expected going into the year? Just how has it evolved as the season's gone on?
Yeah, so I think going into the year, I wasn't necessarily sure what to expect on what role I'd be filling. It's different than my previous role, at Oklahoma, because, I was more of a captain, more of a vocal guy, and in front of the team. And then here, it's just, being able to, for me, I've just been focusing on how I can provide value to the team and whatever that looks like, whether that's helping the leaders behind the scenes or maybe giving suggestions to them on things that have worked successfully previous in my career. And kind of just offering, maybe insight from a different perspective. And then I think just on the field, constantly trying to, pick guys' heads, bring energy, and things like that. I think I just try to figure out how I can add value to the team. And I think it's been more so emotional support this year, and things along those lines, as opposed to maybe more of a vocal role like in my past.
Ben?
This is just from my perspective, having kind of watched you play the first half of the season. Seems like you've really kind of, in a good way, brought a real kind of chippiness and edge and toughness to the defense. Would you agree with that assessment? And is that something you feel that you in particular have kind of brought, just more of an edge and toughness that maybe they didn't have as much as a defensive unit last year?
No, I don't, because I think, the guys on the team, they have like their strengths and their abilities. And maybe I was just like a reminder or something that was like a trigger point for anything. I don't think it's necessarily something I brought, because that kind of like gives too much credit, to myself. I think sometimes, you can just hear maybe a word or a phrase or a quote that encourages you or inspires you or brings something out of you. And I think maybe I've offered that, but I think saying that I brought that gives like a little bit too much credit to myself, because you have guys like Lavani, he's been flying around on film since, he came onto the scenes here at Stanford. Guys like Caillou, arguably one of the best corners in the country. So I think these guys have already existed. I think maybe sometimes I can just do a good job of giving a maybe inspirational quote or a reminder or something like that may help people. But I think that kind of gives too much credit to myself.
I guess maybe to kind of quickly just maybe rephrase the question is, has been bringing toughness and chippiness and edge for you, has that been a focus for you personally to bring to the field this year, just personally?
I mean, I don't really think too much about it. I just kind of go out and I think whenever I get into football, you put on your headphones, you go into, your football mode, and kind of just like what happens. So it hasn't been like necessarily anything I was focused on specifically.
All right, thanks. This line of questioning is over. Appreciate it.
Yeah, what's your snapshot of the defense right now? What's gone right? What could be going better? And what is there to watch? What do we need to watch defensively going forward for the final 4 games of the regular season?
Yeah, I think what's gone right is you have a group of men on the team who are very, very resilient, which is probably like one of the biggest things, the biggest accomplishments you can have in life, because football kind of gets to teach you a lot of things about life, whether it's adversity, whether it's, courage, resiliency, or whatever the case is. And, whatever is thrown at us, even though if the outcome isn't what we want, guys keep on, fighting. You guys keep on putting the one foot in front of another, injury after injury. So-and-so who may be a leader or a starter, they go down and a young guy has to step up. I think the biggest strength is, just the resiliency that exists. Guys never, look for an excuse. They never look for, somewhere else to blame. You have great leaders like Jonathan McGill they come in there. It's like, okay, what can I do better as a leader? And I think, sometimes, life beats you down longer than it should be. The outcome isn't necessarily what you want, but I think the thing I admire most is, you have guys like John who just keep on finding ways to like fight, and I think that's something that shouldn't go under recognized. So I think that's the biggest strength. Things that we can work on, just maybe in the run game, gap integrity, staying in our gaps. That's probably like the biggest thing maybe we can work on, is just staying in our gaps, gap integrity, and then trusting, our work and everything that we put into it. And then things moving forward, I think because of a couple injuries, you're going to get to potentially see some young guys get on the field. I think Ernest Cooper, he came in the Arizona State game, stepped up in a huge way, and gives you insight into what the future of Stanford football looks like, which is incredibly promising because he's just one of many great freshmen, along with David Jackson, Colin Wright, and the list goes on. So I will look forward to some of the younger guys getting bigger opportunities.
Dave?
Yeah, Patrick, a couple of weeks ago, we asked David Shaw about rule changes. And one of the things that he mentioned was like number one on his list was getting rid of the umpire. And I noticed that, a couple of things. I think in the Oregon game, you got penalized because an umpire got in your way and then you complained about it. Another thing is, after he mentioned that, I noticed that almost before every play, you're always motioning to the umpire, like get out of the way, or, that kind of thing. I'm just wondering what you thought of, what you think of that idea.
Oh man, I'm in agreement with Coach Shaw. That's the frustrating part. Because I like a lot of the plays. I even during the plays, kind of like trying to move guys out the way. And I think it's difficult because they have a tough job to do and they're in a tough position. But and I think the game of football sometimes is very, very protective of maybe the offensive players, but as defensive players, we kind of get the bad end of things sometimes because, like, running backs can face mask us, move our helmets whenever they're stiff arming. We can get crack blocks. So it's a little bit frustrating sometimes. But I think defense, typically you're the guy who wants to cause mischief on the field and upset guys and irritate guys anyway. So I think it comes with the territory.
Troy?
Cam Ward, Washington State's quarterback's a pretty dangerous guy, can really extend the play and just fling it at the very last instant and somehow find ways to gain yards. What are some points of emphasis for Stanford defensively this week when trying to bottle up number one?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the first part is getting him off of his first read, which is, a big part of on the back end, what we have to do as set guys in the secondary, locking down the receivers, getting him off his first read, making him panic and then try to find the next look. And then from there, it's just, making sure we have integrity with our rush lanes, keeping the pocket closed and compact. And then, not to get too much into game plan, but, we have some things schemed up to stop, to help with his legs. So I think we have a good plan going into the week.
Ben?
For you guys as a secondary, just how huge is it when the front seven is doing their thing? When guys like Bailey and Herron are getting tackles for loss and DeMooney, and that's been something that's been improving each week. Just how huge is that for you guys as a secondary when those guys are getting going?
Oh, it's big time because I think a lot of the sacks, the TFLs, the negative plays, if you just look at statistically in the game of football, what a negative play can do to a drive, depending on how many negative plays you have, offense's chance of scoring or putting points on the board can drop all the way to 10, 20%. So those have a big impact on the game of football in general. But just the energy and like the love we have for guys on the team, we just love seeing no matter who it is make plays. But it's especially big whenever it's coming from a freshman like David Bailey, because you have the excitement of that and also the excitement of what he can be in the future and how he keeps on improving as a player. So it's big time for us, and all of us, we feed off of each other's energy. And I think the same thing goes vice versa. Whenever they see us make a PBU or whatever the case is, they're excited for us. They're the first ones, despite how slow the big guys are, they're the first ones getting to us to congratulate us.
Dave?
Patrick, I don't even know if you know the answer to this question, but I'm just curious about where you see yourself after after you get your degree. Do you see yourself kind of going into the Silicon Valley type thing, or do you see yourself going back to Tulsa and maybe seeing what, using what tools you now have to work in the community in a different level? I'm just kind of curious what your ideas are.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question. I'm a little bit all over the place. I think I like the idea of the opportunities I have, like maybe in finance, that will give me the financial capital I have to do whatever nonprofit work I want to do. Because I think sometimes you go maybe into nonprofit, you're maybe dependent upon your investors, the board, and things of that sort. And I like the idea of being able to have a professional career that gives me the ability to move how I see fit. And also just being here, I have, I have relationships with some of the top people in economics or policy or whatever the case is. So I think with the financial capital I'll be able to get from my career, and then also with those resources, the human capital I have here, I'll be able to go impact Tulsa the way I want to, kind of maybe on my terms. So long story short, I think I'll probably start my career and then use the resources I have to impact Tulsa, as opposed to maybe just going directly in a nonprofit.
Ben?
I asked Levani this question last week. I asked him what he had more fun doing, getting a TFL or an interception, and he said an interception because a TFL is more rare for him. Is it the opposite for you? Is a TFL more exciting for you because those are more rare, or interception still the thing?
I don't know. I don't know. It's I like hitting people. So at the TFL you get to hit somebody, but interceptions are game changers. I only think an interception is fun is if you get a chance to like return it. Because like Levani, he like caught in the field. I think it's like way more fun whenever you get to catch it and return it. So.
Any other questions for Patrick? Thank you so much, Patrick.
Cool. Thank you.
That is the end of today's press conference. Audio and video will be available shortly. Thank you so much.